Okay, so this is a few problems worked out from Chapter 2, Objective 4 homework assignment using chain rule. So for our first problem here, so we want to do an algebraic rewrite, so it's not in the square root form. So this will be 2, and then 4 minus x squared to the power of 1/4. So chain rule in and of itself is not done by itself, it's usually done with another rule. So in this case, it would be done with power rule, because I have a power here, so I'm going to do chain rule and power rule. So for power rule, so I take the power down, multiply it to the coefficient, so it'll be 2 times the 4th, and then I reduce the power by 1/4. So all I've done so far is the power rule component, and now I want to do the chain rule component, which is to multiply by the derivative of what's inside. So now I want to take care of this derivative, and so now I'm going to multiply by that derivative. So the derivative of 4 is just 0, and the derivative of negative x squared is negative 2x. Okay. So again, chain rule, right, is done in conjunction with the power rule. So I bring the power rule down, leave the inside alone, reduce the power by 1. And then now, the chain rule component, take the derivative of what's inside. And so I'm going to go ahead and simplify this just a little bit. So I would have, let's see, negative 4/4, so negative x, and then 4 minus x squared to the negative 3/4, right? Did I do that right? Yes, okay, and that would be my derivative. Okay, and then let's take a look at a tougher one. So 33 requires us, again, to do chain rule, because I have a grouping, so I have to do chain rule. And then I have a quotient, so that means I have to do chain rule with quotient rule, and of course I have a power. So there's going to be lots of things happening here. So I'm going to start with the outside. So the outside part is power rule, right? So I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to bring down the power of 3, leave the inside alone, and reduce the power by 1. So power rule first, because that's on the outside. And then now I go to the inside, and in here I'm going to do quotient rule. So times quotient rule. So that would be my chain rule piece. So low, and then d high, so the derivative of the numerator, so that would be negative 2. So low d high, and then minus high, so leave the numerator alone, and then d low, so the derivative of 1 plus b is just 1, all over the square of what's below. And there we go. Okay. And so I could simplify this actually quite a bit, but I am going to leave that like that. Okay? And then number 57. So again, I want to do an algebraic rewrite here, so or a notational one anyways. So this would be 4, and then secant x squared, right? And that just helps me see what I'm doing a little bit clearer. So now I'm going to do chain rule with power rule and a trig rule in there. So let's start with the power rule first. So I'm going to bring the 2 down, leave the inside alone, and reduce the power by 1. And then now I take the derivative of what's inside, and so the derivative of secant, so I need to know that trig rule, is secant tangent. So secant of the same angle, tangent of the same angle. And then I would take the derivative of x, which is just 1, so I'm just going to call that good. Okay? And then again, I could simplify, so I have a couple of secants there, and a tangent. Okay. And one more. Number 75. So I want to find the equation of the tangent line. So here is my x1, y1, and the equation in point slope form. So that's my tangent line equation, and then my slope is just my derivative and then evaluated, in this case, at x equals 3. So to find my slope, I need to find the derivative and then evaluate it at 3. So I'm going to do an algebra rewrite here, or rewrite, and make that to the 1/2 power. And then from there, I just want to take the derivative. So to find the derivative, I'm going to bring the 1/2 down. So I'm using power rule right now. Reduce by 1. And now chain rule, multiply by the derivative of what's inside. So that would be 6, 3 times 2. And then reduce the power by 1. And the derivative of 2 is just 0. And then I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this because I have to evaluate. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of simplifying here to make it easier. So 1/2 of 6 is 3. And then bring this to the denominator. And it's a 1/2, so that would make it a radical. So now I'm going to go ahead and find my slope. So I'm going to replace x with 3. So that would be 9 over, this would be 9, 3 squared is 9, times 3 is 27, and then 27 minus 2, so 9 over the square root of 25, which is 5. So there's my slope. So now I have my slope and my original ordered pair. So now for my equation, so I'm looking up here, y minus the value of y, which was 5, equals m, which we found to be 9/5, so the slope of my tangent line, and then x minus my value for x, which was 3, and then that would be in point slope form. And that's that.